In this tutorial, we will create your first interactive slide in Articulate Storyline. You will learn how to use states, layers, and triggers, the building blocks of interaction in Storyline. And you will get everything you need to follow along and recreate the exact slide. Let's open a new project in Storyline. And right now we are in Story View, and we can see that we have one scene, including one slide. And we're going to double click the title and rename this scene to Introduction. And I'm doing this because both the scene and slide titles show up in your published project by default. So it's just a simple step to avoid confusion down the line. And the next thing we're going to do is double click the slide to jump into slide view. And now we can rename the slide by double clicking here. I will call this navigation types. We can see that our slide has the aspect ratio of 4:3, and we want to change this. So go to the Design tab and then click on Slide Size. Here you can see that the preset is 4:3, and I think that 16:9 should be standard nowadays, but it isn't for some reason. If you don't want to worry about this anymore, you can set 16:9 as a default size, and then we're just going to click on OK to apply this. And now we need our background, so we're going to click on Insert, and then here we have the picture, Insert Picture button, and we can just use the tab of this button, and then we can open a picture from a file. I will link to this picture that we need for this project in the description of this video, and it is called Background, and then here you can just click on Open, and then it will be auto-centered and it will match the 16:9 dimensions of our project. The next thing I'm going to do is rename it here in the timeline. So I'm going to double click the title and then type in pic_bg and hit enter. Pic stands for picture and BG stands for background. Now there is a small trick to make your life easier. If you ever accidentally move your background while working, for example, let's say I have something on this slide like a text box that I want to move, but I don't actually end up hitting it, and then I move my background picture. You can avoid this just by locking the picture on the timeline. So there is this little box right here, and you can click it, and now it's locked and you can't move it accidentally. The next thing we're going to do is add a slide title. So click on Insert and then click on Text Box. And now I can draw a text box, and then I will draw a rather large one. And I'm going to type robot lawnmower navigation types. I'm going to click on the border of the text box, and now I can format the full box, and I will make sure that I have the heading theme font, and then I will change the size to 24. And I will bold it, and I will align it to the center of the text box. And now I can make the text box a bit smaller, maybe like so. And now I can click on the border and then move it around until the smart guides tell me that I'm in the middle of my slide. And this happens right now, and then I will just move it a bit more up, and then I will drop it here. Yeah, I think this looks good. And now we can name this element on the timeline. Double click it and then type in txt_title. And then I will hit enter, and I will also lock this element right here. Okay, and now would be a great time to save our project. So let's click on the save icon up here. yeah, make sure that you save this project locally, for example, on your C drive. I will save it as lawnmower interaction, and then I will just click on save. And the next thing we're going to do is add our buttons. And we're going to use shapes. So click on insert and then click on shape and then choose a rounded rectangle. And I'm going to hold down Shift on my keyboard because I want to draw a square. And I want it about, yeah, this big. I wanted to float a bit above the grass, like so. One thing that you have to do often in Storyline is getting rid of the outline. So click on the Format tab and then click on the drop-down arrow for Shape Outline and then choose No Outline. We need to change the shape fill. I want it to be this green, and I will click on the drop-down arrow here next to Shape Fill. And then I will choose the accent 3 color, but I think it's a bit too light. So I will choose the darker 25% version of this fill color. Here's a subtle mistake a lot of beginners and even experienced users make when designing buttons. You might be tempted to add an icon and text on top of a shape and group them, like I did here. You can see I have the rectangle and I have a text box and I have an icon, and they're all grouped. This looks fine, but it causes a ton of problems when editing states, because you can't add states to a group, but only to each element inside it. So yeah, if I select the group and then click on states, you can see I can't add states here. So instead, we will add the text and icon directly inside the shapes state. So let's go back to our project and then click on the shape and then click on states and then click on edit states and then, yeah, choose the normal state. It is selected right away. Now we can add some text. I will do this by using the shortcut Ctrl+T on my keyboard. Now I have a text box and I will write wire-based, and once again I'm going to click on the border of this text box. I am going to make the text a bit bigger. I will bold it and I will change it to the white theme color here, light one, and will align the text to the center of the text box. And then I will once again use the smart guides to align this to the center of my shape. And yeah, this looks good. Maybe we can move it up a bit. Is it really in the middle of my shape? Yeah, okay. Yeah, this looks good. The next thing we want to do is insert an icon. And I'm going to choose an icon from the content library. So click on insert. We're still in the normal state. We're still editing the state. Click on insert and then in the content library group, click on icons. And then I will search for looping. And the first result that pops up here is the one that I think represents the navigation type wire best. So I'm going to click on insert and it will be inserted to the middle of my slide, and I will just move it over here. It can keep the size and it's in a good position right here. We just need to change the shape fill. I'm going to change it to white as well. This looks good, I think. Click on done. And I have my button right now and I just need to give it a name in the timeline. And I'm going to double click here and then type in btn_wire. BTN stands for button. Now we need a way to indicate which button is selected. And here's something I didn't know when I first started. You don't have to create a trigger for every visual change, because in Storyline we have something called built-in states. I will show this to you. Let's select our button, click on states, and then click on edit states, and then add a new state. And here you can see that we have built-in states like hover and selected, and they are automatically triggered. No extra triggers needed. So I'm going to add a selected state, click on add, and the only thing that I'm going to change about this will be the outline. So click on the Format tab and then click on Shape Outline and add a weight of 4 pixels. And now we have a blue outline. I want it to be in the green color that we have selected for the button. And I will make it 1 shade darker. So this is the color of the button, and then I will choose darker 50%. And yeah, this will be my selected state. I will click on done, and this state here will be triggered automatically when the button is selected. Okay, and now that we've got our button set up, we will create 2 more, but don't worry, you don't have to do all of this again. We can simply duplicate the button. And to duplicate, I will select my button and then on my keyboard press Ctrl plus D and then press Ctrl plus D another time. Now I will move the third button over here, lining it up to the first button. And yeah, this looks good. And the second button is right here, and I'm also going to line this up. And now I have the 3 buttons. This is not a great spacing right here, so I will select all 3. Holding down my Control key, just click this one, and now I have selected all 3. And then I can distribute them horizontally. And yeah, now I need a way to center these 3 buttons on our slide, and we will just keep this selection and once again use Storyline Smart Guides to help us center these 3 items on the slide. And it looks pretty much in the center, but yeah, we just need to move it a notch over here, and then it's all centered and looks good in my opinion. And now we need to adjust button 2 and 3. So the first thing we're going to do is click outside of the buttons and then select the second one, and then double click on the normal state and change this to GPS. It will be the GPS based navigation type, and now the text box isn't in the middle of our shape anymore, so I will move it a bit till the smart guides indicate that I'm in the middle again. And sadly in Storyline we can't replace the icon right here, so I will have to delete this one and add another one from the content library. So click on Insert and then once again click on Icons. Now I will search for Satellite and then choose the third one. And this one can keep the size. We just need to move it to the middle of our shape once again. Yeah, now it's in the middle of our shape. And we just need to change the shape fill color. We're going to pick white once again. And visually the button looks good so far, but we also need to change the shape fill color of our shape right here, and we're going to choose the accent 1 color. And if we look down here to the states panel, we see that we also need to change the selected state so that it fits the normal state. So let's click on the selected state and then change it to the same fill color. We can just click on shape fill because it will be the same color that we have just selected, but then we need another shape outline color, and we're going to choose the 25% darker version of accent 1. Okay, and this looks good. Now we can click on done, and then switch to the timeline and rename this to button GPS. Yeah, now we need to do the same thing for button 3. Click on the button, choose states, double click on the normal state, and change this to vision based. And click on the border of the text box and move it to the middle with my smart guides, and then delete the icon. Insert an icon from content library, and this time I will search for I, and I will choose this icon right here. I will insert it. Yeah, I will move it over here, and holding down my shift key, I will make it a bit bigger. So I'm holding down shift and then dragging, so maybe, and then I will change the shape fill to be white, and then just try to align it to the center, and yeah, I think it looks quite good right here. Now we need to change the shape fill of our rectangle, and it will be the accent 6. But yeah, this is a bit too light, so I will choose the 25% darker version and do the same thing for the selected state. I don't know why it jumps around here. I have no idea. Click on the shape fill. Now the selected state is this orange as well. And now we only need to change the shape outline, and we're going to pick the accent 6 50% darker version. And now the selected state looks good. We're going to click on done. Now we're going to go back to the timeline and rename this to vision and hit enter. Okay, and let's talk a bit about color, not just how it looks right here on the slide, but how it works behind the scenes. If you ever manually choose colors, like for example, here in the Format tab under Shape Fill, entering a hex code or choosing the eyedropper, colors that you have selected that way won't update when you switch to a different brand theme, and then you're left with a lot of work. So use colors from the theme colors only. That way, when you change the color palette in your project, everything updates automatically. I will just demonstrate this to you by clicking on Design tab, and then here under colors you can change it, for example, to another color palette that I have, and it's the Data Defend one, and you can see just by hovering over the effect of this. So everything will be changed automatically. Okay, but we don't need this right now, so just switch out of here. Okay, and now I think we need a way to show to our learner that the buttons are active and that they do something if you click on them. And we could use a hover state, but this can be a bit subtle. And we have another great way to highlight our interaction, and that is the emphasis animation. A simple and modern way to give a visual cue that these buttons here are interactive. So let's select all buttons. This time I'm just going to draw a rectangle around them and select them that way. And let's go to the Animations tab and click on Add Emphasis Animation. And I'm going to choose Grow. And I want it in a shorter duration, so 0.25, and I want the effect option medium. So I want a medium grow amount, and just like that, I have an emphasis animation added. Automatically, we get some triggers for this. And let's look at the GPS button, for example. It says emphasize button GPS using grow when the user clicks button GPS. But we don't want this to happen when the user clicks, but when the user hovers with the mouse. So we're going to change this right here by just clicking and then selecting mouse hovers over. And then we get this restore when the user hovers out option. And this is a good thing, because then it will get small again and not just stay in the big size. So let's change this for the other buttons as well. User clicks changes to mouse hovers over, and user clicks changes to mouse hovers over. Okay, now would be a great time to preview our project. So let's click on preview and then preview this slide. First of all, you will notice the grow emphasis animation. And then when I click, we get the selected state. But when I click on a second one, this also gets the selected state. So the selected state can appear on multiple buttons right now. And we only want one button to be selected at a time. And when I started with Storyline, I ran into this too. Then I tried using triggers and variables to make this work, and it got messy really fast. But there's a much easier and faster way to do this, and it is to just use a button set. Let me show you. Once again, I will select all buttons and then do a right click and then click on button set and then choose button set 1. This is the default button set for this slide, and I know that there is no other button set on this slide, so I can just pick this one. Now only one can be selected at a time, and you don't need any extra logic. This is just one of those Storyline features that is powerful, but it's easy to overlook this at first. You basically just have to know about it. Now we need some information to be displayed when you click on the buttons. And to do this, we will create a new layer. So here in the slide layer panel, click on new layer. And then I will name this wire. So this will contain some information for the wire-based navigation type. And yeah, we can see the layer right now. It is just empty, and we will insert a rounded rectangle. So click on insert and then shape and then rounded rectangle. And I will draw it here where the grass starts and where the button starts. And then try to cover most of the mower with the rectangle, and then just make sure it lines up with the button here right now. And then I can just enlarge it a bit so that it also lines up here. And I will once again choose in the format tab, choose no outline. So shape outline, no outline. I want the fill color of this shape to be the light 1, darker 5%. Color. I will add some text, and I have a file for this that I will also share with you in the description of this video. So you can just copy it. I will use Ctrl+C and then jump to Storyline and hit Ctrl+V. And now the text is added in white. So I will just mark all the text with Ctrl+A and then choose another color. I will choose the dark one, lighter 25. It's this one, so not completely black. And then I will also make this part right here wire based. I will make this bold. And yeah, this is about it for the text. Let's click on the border once again and add an entrance animation for this. Click on animations. Here, entrance animations, click on none and then choose wipe. And then I will make it a shorter duration and make sure that the effect comes in from the bottom. And this looks good. And now all that's left to do is duplicate this layer twice. So I will click on the layer here in the slide layers panel and hit Ctrl+D on my keyboard 2 times. And now I can just rename these to first GPS and then the second one to vision. And now I will just add the text. So I will click on the GPS layer and then fetch my GPS text. Once again, I will copy it from the text file and then using Ctrl+A to select all the text and then paste it, and you will see that it's all in bold. So I will unbold this and then just double click on GPS based and bold this. And I will basically do the same thing for vision, and I think I will speed this up a bit for you. So come here and fetch text, vision based, switch back to Storyline and pasting, and then I will unbold this. And yeah, this looks good. now we have all our layers, and now we just need the logic. We need to add triggers to tell Storyline that when the user clicks on these buttons, we want to show the layers. So on our base layer, select the first button and then add a new trigger right here in the triggers panel. And it will automatically be when the user clicks button wire. So this is pre-populated, but we need to change the action up here. We don't want to jump to the next slide, but we want to show a layer. And this is the wire-based button. And of course, we don't want to show the layer vision, but we want to show the layer wire. And now you can see why it's important to name your elements in the timeline. It just makes setting up these triggers a lot easier. This is okay. And if you've ever created the same trigger 3 times in a row, you know that this can get a bit boring, and it's also an easy way to introduce small mistakes without realizing. So we will just click on this trigger and copy it, and then select the other 2 buttons and paste it. Now we only need to update the layer name to show the corresponding layer. So for the button GPS, we want to show the GPS layer, and for the button vision, we want to show the vision layer. Okay, and yeah, it's time for our final preview. And you can see that this works. We have our selected state, we have our hover animation, and we have the layer that shows up. One thing that you need to notice is that the layers hide each other, and this is because if you choose one of the layers and you look at the slide layer properties, we have this option right here to hide other slide layers, and this is the default. But yeah, if something doesn't work for you, just check the slide layer properties and make sure that this is selected. Now let's talk about some optional enhancements. We could add a learner instruction on the slide to tell them that they indeed need to click on these buttons. And we could also add a button on the layers to navigate to a scene with more details on this navigation type. And this would turn this slide to sort of a menu slide. So now we have a fully functional interactive slide. But what if you need to create a whole course, not just one slide? And what about brand guidelines or a project that needs to be completed quickly? That's exactly what I cover in my video on how to quickly create your first Storyline course, which I will put on screen right now. And if you're interested in not getting stuck on your first project, you should definitely check it out. I hope to see you in that video. Thanks so much for watching, and bye for now.